A major scandal erupts as this channel uncovers one publication that is consistently running false reports about next week's stimulus bill. Hey, good evening, everybody. This is LALATE and Evenings LALATE, our 1-hour programming block every night at 6:30 p.m. that starts with a check and then usually goes to EIDL or special report. This video is part of our 6.5-hour programming block on LALATE, now the net's fastest growing and most popular news site. Shocking details as we go into what's a promising, supportive, encouraging, and exciting week next week on the second stimulus check and stimulus package. But as LALATE uncovers this. In recent days, we had seen something was deeply troubling. One news publication, a major news publication, nationally circulated news publication, writing articles every single day about second stimulus check and stimulus package that were inaccurate. And suddenly we saw a pattern, and it started several days ago, when interviews were conducted with Republican leaders and the interviews were misquoted or quoted in part. And then we saw what happened over the last 2 days and this. The latest report from this publication, which I'm not going to name, you can figure it out yourself. It's a Google News finance syndicated news outlet, much like LALATE, which is Google News syndicated, consistently runs stimulus check articles every single day. And every single one has been literally inaccurate to the bone. But this one is one in a series in which they've consistently misreported what's happening next week as though to make it sound more beneficial to Democrats. Now, certainly this channel is the purple power, as you are and I am. We are not partisan. But no one likes when someone plays friggin' games and consistently tries to slant something one way. And this is what's deeply troubling. As viewers of this channel get ready for stimulus checks next week that are in the stimulus package next week, ready for FPUC extension, which is in the stimulus package next week, ready for K-12 testing, which is in the stimulus package next week, ready for more benefits for schools, which is in the package next week, that is valued at $550 billion. That's not a skinny bill and has not been introduced anywhere before publicly in any written form. We're ready and anxious and promised and have a lot of hope. And yet this article published today, and another one published yesterday, and another one published the day before, trashes what's being done next week with utter false information. The article says that next week will introduce a $200 a week FPUC extension. That the stimulus check will be offered to less people. That it may not include stuff that people want, but will include stuff like PPP, which it doesn't. That will include stuff like Postal Service funding, which it won't. Which will include stuff for like money for schools for PPE, which is not really exactly correct, is also inaccurate. So what's going on here? Let's get down to the heart of the matter. The heart of the matter is that there's an information name game that's going on, and a lot of people are now pointing fingers and wondering if Democrats are behind this. No one likes when people spin things falsely, whether it's a political official, whether it's the president, whether it's a member of Congress. But we don't like when one publication consistently is spinning things awkwardly the wrong way and detailing stuff incorrectly. And so unfortunately I have had to be in the buffer of this with a lot of viewers sometimes tweeting or sending or DMing. If you don't realize already, this channel doesn't allow links in any of its comments, but sending links saying, what about that article? And sure enough, every time I click, it's the same damn publication. The publication yesterday said that Mike Pence says you shouldn't get stimulus checks. Mike Pence specifically said the exact opposite. The same particles, and that you shouldn't get stimulus checks next week. That's exactly the opposite of what Mike Pence said. He said no one more than this president wants you to get stimulus checks. The same article said, the same publication said that when Steve Mnuchin and Nancy Pelosi met last week, it was for a stimulus package. It wasn't. It was for a bridge gap. And during those negotiations, they didn't get to a stimulus relief. Well, yeah, they didn't because they weren't discussing the stimulus relief. And in that stimulus package, you didn't get stimulus checks. Of course not. It was a financial bill. The problems continued. It then quoted a Larry Kudlow interview, which, sadly enough, this was not the only article that misquoted that as well, that said Larry Kudlow thinks you shouldn't get stimulus. That's not what he said. He said this economy can do well without stimulus, but that he fully supports stimulus checks to go out right away. You know, it's a little bit disconcerting, but what's also very confusing is the sources for their articles. You can reach your own conclusion. One of the articles they wrote in the last few days was a direct quote from Chuck Schumer, who said that he had seen the bill that's going to be introduced next week when he has not. He could tell you whether the deal provisions that are in there and how bad they were, which he has not seen, and that the bill does not provide relief for Americans. Well, it's conjecture because you haven't seen it. Ultimately, what you're getting next week is a stimulus check bill, an FPUC extension bill, and a bill that also has something for K-12 and for testing. More about those details in a second. So why is one publication consistently defaulting to Chuck Schumer direct quotes on the record and putting out a false narrative of what's happening? The article today is quite shocking. Senate Republicans are pushing for a $200 weekly unemployment supplement and to limit stimulus payments to those earning $75,000 a year or less. Not this week of September. When was the last time a Republican asked for that? Let's push back. I mean, you're the viewers of this channel. You've been following this on a daily basis with 3.5 hours of programming from me every day. When was the last time a Republican asked for $200 a week stimulus on FPUC? That would be Mitch McConnell, and that would have been the HEALS Act, and that would have been, what, 5 weeks ago? And that was also a bill that the president said it was irrelevant and that he has nothing to do with it. Okay, that was the last time we saw $200 a week. What has been the number since then? Well, the president issued an executive order, which is at $400 a week. Steve Mnuchin made an offer of $400 a week. That's the first problem. The second problem with the article, that stimulus checks would be limited to those earning $75,000 or less, not $89,000 less, or not $99,000 or less, not $198,000 for joint filers. Okay, when was $75,000 even an offer? Well, it was part of the HEALS Act a long time ago, but has not been the case since then. They have appeared to soften their stance to the total price tag, which the White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows is telling the White House reporters last Friday. The president's now willing to sign something $1.3 trillion. Again, misquoting someone. Mark Meadows has specifically said that the president will support a $1.3 trillion bill, that he offered one to Nancy Pelosi, she rejected, and that what's being introduced next week is not $1.3 trillion, but $550 billion. Did they not see that interview? It's only been done 5 times. Mark Meadows repeated the number about 5 times. Steve Mnuchin repeated as well. And that continued thereafter. It then continued to trash why $1.3 trillion is not enough. In fact, in lieu of Pelosi's demand for $2.2 trillion. It fails to mention that her bill, if we're going to cite stuff from 2 months ago, was $3 trillion, not 2.2, and that her offer 2 weeks ago was 2.4. It's ironic then when they want to quote the lower number, they use the Republican data from 2 months ago, but when they want to make Pelosi look more accommodating, they use her number from last week. Yeah, see that? Now, no one likes this when Republicans do this, or Republican slant publications. No one likes when Democratic slant publications are doing this. But here is even more worse, that when the Senate convenes next week, Republicans led by Mitch McConnell are aiming to pass a narrow coronavirus relief that's called a HEALS Light. Not true. And that's a crazy name. Whoever came up with that name. It includes a $300 week boosted weekly federal unemployment benefits until December 27th. No. First of all, we don't know the expiration date. We've never been told the expiration date, which would assume it's December 31st. Two, we've never been told verbatim the amount that it will be the weekly. We are to presume it's 400. No one has ever said it's 300. An additional level of paycheck protection funding? No. We've been told that that's not in next week's bill, that it's in the bill that's thereafter. $10 billion for the Postal Service? No. That we have also been told that's not in there as well. And liability protection along with education for education and testing. Know something missing from this article? Stimulus checks. It does not include a provision for stimulus checks, hence the problem that viewers are having with this news publication. But if passed, could crack the door for more skinny bills receiving support. Also untrue, they're doing this and then another bill. Sadly to say, this is not the only time this is happening, and what's going to happen may continue in the next couple of days. As Senate Republicans, Senate Democrats reconvene, it is not unusual and not out of the ordinary to see publications become the voice megaphone of certain political parties to give you very slanted, incorrect information in favor of Republicans, and also very incorrect, slanted information in favor of Democrats. Fox News was certainly the culprit, no less than a month ago when I would say, hey, Fox News, when they consistently said that nothing was going to be done by Democrats in the next couple of weeks, and that everyone was going to wait around till late September till we have a bill, till we have them reconvening. Well, we see how much has gone on in the last couple of weeks. But as you, the viewer, try to get informed, you try to wonder, who can I really read? Ultimately, the spirit of this channel is to keep you empowered so you have the power and you have the information to know what's really going on. The stimulus check being introduced next week will be $1,200 for single individuals and $2,400 for married couples. The three items we simply do not know is the amount of money for dependents, the issue of child support, and the number of individuals in the household. We've consistently said we just don't know this. So for a publication to say there's no stimulus checks in there, when Steve Mnuchin, Mark Meadows, Chuck Schumer, certainly not Chuck Schumer, Mark Meadows, Mitch McConnell, Steve Mnuchin, Mike Pence, and Donald Trump have all said there's a stimulus check provision in next week's bill. Why is a publication saying there's nothing in there, when the focus should be on really what is the amount of the dependents, and should be hammering political candidates or political seated officers saying, why are you only giving $500 to dependents? Are you going to give them a full stimulus check? That's where the narrative should be. No one is really fighting for your need for information among these horrifically bad news reporters. They should be asking the political officials when they sit down for an interview with them, why won't you give them $1,200 as a adult dependent? You didn't give them a stimulus check under the first round of the CARES Act as a person on SSDI, SSI, Social Security benefits. Why now is it fair to give them only $500 in the second stimulus package? They should be bridging those correct questions with that correct information instead of dealing with this crapola. Then, of course, the issue of how many people in the household will get a stimulus check. And finally, whether it'll be taken out for child support. Child support is really an unclear issue because Republicans do want to take it out for child support in the HEALS Act, and Democrats don't. But this is a different bill in a different month written by different people. And ultimately, you can still have nothing taken out for child support, but you can recoup child support on a local level in a courthouse. FPUC, when it comes back next week as 2.0, may become sort of banter for more crazy stories like this. $200 a week, $300 a week. Understand the situation is very clear. There are Republicans that want to give you $0 a week. They still are out there. They're clearly not Republicans who are up for congressional elections this fall because they can get away with that type of stuff. But the people who are really up for re-election, whether they're Republicans or Democrats, should be on your watch list. Your watch list. You should know exactly who they are, Republicans or Democrats, who are in the Senate and the House. I tweeted them before, and I'll tweet them again if you can't find who they are, that are up for re-election. Because ultimately, if they want to sit back and not vote on anything, and not give enhanced unemployment benefits again to people in their state that are unemployed, can't make rent, can't make utilities, are nearly homeless or are homeless, do they think we're going to re-elect them? more importantly, if they're up for re-election and they vow not to do anything and simply sit back and make an excuse like, well, there's no money for state and local in there, do you think you're going to vote for them? No. Do you think they're up, should be re-elected? No. Do you think they should be out of Congress? Absolutely. Do you think they're going to be spineless wimps and defer to Nancy Pelosi, who says don't agree to the bill because it doesn't have state and local? We have to have state and local in the bill next week. Otherwise, we don't want to give enhanced unemployment benefits to the citizens of our state. If they're spineless enough wimps to do that, they don't belong in government. Because Nancy Pelosi is not up for re-election. She certainly may not even up for re-election ever again. She may retire, as her daughter has allegedly said to some reporters. And she's for California. If you're a senator or representative in Kansas or Oklahoma or Kentucky or Nebraska, why does what she says as speaker determine whether or not you should give enhanced unemployment benefits to the citizens of your state and stimulus checks to the citizens of your state who need it now, as opposed to her plan to, give it to you when pigs fly? That is where we sit here tonight. And ultimately, what you need to understand is that the core of the issue is really tantamount. It is being able to grasp the information that's up there and also be given provided the correct information. There's channels out there today that said stuff like, a stimulus agreement was reached yesterday. It wasn't. That a stimulus check is coming out from the president by executive order today. It's not. That a stimulus check of $900 is landing in your bank account today. Okay, that's LWA times 3. I got the calculation. Yeah, we're ready and able to grasp that. Sometimes you can see incorrect information right in your face, especially if someone's doing this. But when someone's doing this under the guise of a major U.S. publication and delivering the false reporting every single day of the week on stimulus checks and stimulus packages, and repeating it and double downing on it, and then misquoting the people involved, it causes you to wonder where we're getting our information from. Coming up after this is another video, and that one will touch on EIDL. There's a lot of fish swimming in the sea today. And when you see the fish, you need to understand that it is a fish, that it's not an elephant because someone told you it's an elephant. And because of that, it's important to understand as we go into next week that you understand routing times for when things would get to you financially. Second, you need to understand when things are expiring. Like, when will LWA expire? When will be the last week you'll get LWA? When will your enhanced unemployment benefits expire? When will your normal unemployment benefits expire? You need to be on high alert about those numbers, because ultimately I want you to be financially aware of your future. And I know a lot of you are dependent upon the outcome of just one stimulus check. It's not a situation I would have ever wanted you to be in. And ultimately, had I been with you earlier on and been able to guide you through the processes of UI and PUA earlier than, even April, I would have said, if you qualify for UI and PUA, get on it. And so as I sit here now in September, I don't know if there are some of you that could have gotten on UI or PUA. And had you have gotten on it months ago, you would not have been so dependent on this single check. But when you put so much focus on a single check, I understand everything that's at stake. And everything that's at stake is political leaders that sometimes are not forthcoming or accurate to you. Ultimately, you must understand that situation. But now, as of tonight, you have to understand that it's also this situation. Do me a couple favors. Subscribe to this channel. I'm delivering true information, not false stuff like that crap. And also make sure there's a little red button next to your name. So when you post a comment, I respond to people who subscribe first. To ensure that you're subscribed and publicly subscribed, go into the pinned comment. I have something that shows you how to unsubscribe and resubscribe. Next, like this video. Liking this video has really helped. The videos appearing higher in the ranking today. We're doing very good today after being clamored with bad algorithm on Friday. Friday. So we're doing bonzo stuff today. Thank you. And this patronage is very much appreciated. Coming up next is EIDL, some OG from my OCs of the DC. What did I just say? As always, stay informed, stay smiling, stay focused, and stay LA for more.